Hello, all you fine, beautiful people. I'm back here with episode number 4 of Fan Friday. And I'm sorry this video has taken a little while to do. Last weekend I was just really busy. And this week we became fur parents. We got our little fur baby Thor. He's a little blue-nosed pit bull mixed with cane corso. So it's been really an adjustment, looking after him, training him a bit, getting him used and settled into a routine. So I thought, you know what, I have some time, so I'll bang this video out while I got that time. So I asked you guys a question, and it's a very simple question here. If you're if somebody is trying to get into progressive rock, which album would you suggest? Now, this idea came to me when it was asked in a live stream of Scott from the Prog Corner. He got that question. I'm like, you know what? That's a great question. What albums would I suggest or would other people suggest? So I'll go with your guys' right away. I'll read the comments off and then give you mine at the end. So John Case starts us off here. Fragile, Tarkus, Days of Future Past, Thick as a Brick, Court of the Crimson King. I think that's a really good list. If it was put in an order, I'd probably say, at least for first, Days of Future Past would probably be the first one I'd give them. Court of the Crimson King might be one of the last ones. Tarkus and I think Fragile would probably be number 2. Tarkus somewhere in there. But yeah, those are some good albums to really start off with. MGP says Dark Side of the Moon. Yeah, very, very easily accessible album. Roland Rutgers, Selling England by the Pound by Genesis. Yeah, that's a very good album to start off with because I think it doesn't have Supper's Ready on it, but I also think there's a lot there melodically that's very accessible. You have First of Fifth, uh, the Moonlight Night. Great. There's some great stuff on there. The Cinema Show, just some really great stuff. Uh, the album reviews channel, Review, React, and Rank says it can only really ever be Dark Side of the Moon, which should be everyone's starting point. It got the lot. I agree with that. I think for anyone getting into prog, I think actually one of the most easy albums to get into would be Dark Side of the Moon. That's kind of my entry point, is because it's not that over, I want to say that way over the top ness of, like, let's say a Yes or a ELP or some of these other bands, but it's very accessible in the fact that all the songs are very melodic, I think, and very atmospheric. Edward Thorne, I would not have thought it, but Tubular Bells might make an incredible first impression. Maybe just side one as kind of background music. See, prog can be gentle and even humorous. Don't say, now sit down and listen to this. Save that for Court of the Crimson King. See which one they prefer and go from there. That's a really good idea. I like to give people probably more ideas of what they're kind of into, like what style they're into, and kind of go from there. But I think, yeah, it's really good point about Tubular Bells, where it's just something different. Maybe they've never heard that before, but it'd be interesting. Mr. Wondrous, Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band. I can see that. It's the Beatles. It has a poppy edge to it. Uh, P.S. Barrow, the Yes album. Catchy rock tunes, but going beyond the simple rock formula. That's a really good record. That's one I would. Either that or Fragile, I would. Starship Trooper from this. Yours is No Disgrace. There's some great stuff on that record. The Clap. Jerry Barber, Elias of Sun Hillo by John Anderson. Haven't heard it all the way through. I've heard one song from it. Someone said that you have to actually listen to it in its entirety. So, yeah, I kind of could see it. Uh, De Delorean Jade. Oh, yeah, I butchered that. Moving Pictures by Rush. Accessible material, no weak songs, nothing dull or meandering to lose the interest of the casual listener. Musically adept and challenging enough without becoming un unintelligible. I can see Moving Pictures by Rush. I think everyone and their dog has probably heard Tom Sawyer to death. That might be the one thing where as soon as they hear Tom Sawyer, they're like, I can't hear that song anymore. But the rest of the album, I think, yeah, probably. I haven't. One thing about Rush, like, I listened to a few songs, like whatever was on the radio at a time, and it's a band I never explored really until I started this channel. Like, maybe bits and pieces here and there, but. A Climber 44. Yes songs by Yes required for any beginner. Uh, I don't know if that's the best place to start them at, personally. But hey, if they can take Yes songs and love that record, I'd say more power to them. They're a great starting point. McBree's Genesis Nursery Crime. Yes, I'll agree with that. Fountain of Salmacus, I believe, is on that album. But yeah, it's a really, really good. At least from what I've heard from it, I really enjoy it. It's been a long time since I listened to Nursery Crime or anything from it. But it's one of those Genesis albums where the album cover alone would say, listen to me, because what the hell is this? Chris O, not sure what's the best one, but could be a couple of my favorites are Images and Words by Dream Theater and The Source by Arian. If you're looking for classic prog, then something from Yes. Yeah, I'd agree with that. If they're especially into metal, like very technical metal, I'd say Dream Theater. If they're more in the more prog metal, prog rock, kind of that crossover phase, I would say Arian. Like the music stuff alone is actually really, really good. Francisco GM, Moon Madness, please. Yeah, Moon Madness. If you like, it's hard. I've heard bits and pieces from Camel. I know it's a Camel record, and I know a lot of people love this. This is an album probably I'm gonna do in the future because I have really nothing to add to that because I haven't heard the album. So Smoky Lonesome, the Yes album, Aqualung, Renaissance, either Prologue or Ashes or Burning. Yes album is a yes. Aqualung is one I would agree with. Like if you're getting into it, especially maybe the more there's parts to Aqualung. There's still bits of that album I've yet to listen to, but as a whole, like what I've heard so far, I actually really like. Renaissance, yeah, I could see it. Annie Haslam's voice is one of those. I'd probably start him off with oh, what's that one? Turn of the Cards, I believe it is. The last song's Mother Russia. That's a really good song. Uh, Sprocket to Cog, Tubular Bells, and Jeff Wynn's Musical War of the Worlds. Two albums I keep in my Google Drive and always have them to share. I've heard Tubular Bells, the other one I'm not familiar with. But yeah, I can see it. Adita Singh, here are my three suggestions: In the Land of Graham Pink by Caravan, Pictures and Exhibition by ELP, and Staircase to the Day by Gravy Train. I've heard of Land of Graham Pink by Caravan, 9 Feet Underground. I've listened to. I've actually done a reaction to it. The others I am not familiar with. Pictures at an Exhibition. Isn't that a live album by ELP? I'm not sure. And the other one I have no clue. So my thoughts on that one very limited. Michael Bocom, Supertramp, Crime of the Century, Kansas Point of No Return, King Crimson Red. Supertramp and Kansas albums in that order, complex but not too complex songs. They're catchy, are on those albums. Then King Crimson Red, more complex but still a bit catchy too. If the Supertramp Kansas experience was viewed favorably, if the rookie likes Red, the rookie is ready for Yes, Genesis, more King Crimson, Gentle Giant, etc. On one other to begin, Alan Parsons' project, turn of a friendly card like Kansas Supertramp albums already mentioned above, complex yet catchy songs. Yeah, I can agree with that. I believe that album features the Chicago Bulls theme that Michael Jordan always came out to. Yeah. Debbie Plato, Hemispheres by Rush. Yeah, I can see it. Jim Tatro, longtime subscriber, Dark Side of the Moon. David Pickford, either Nursery Crimes or Selling England by the Pound. I can see it. Kay Eberhardt, Close to the Edge. Nothing else comes close to the Prog ideal and edge. Smiley face. Yeah, if they can get close to the edge right off the bat and they like it, I think that is a good start. Neon Park, Fragile, or the Yes album by Yes, or perhaps In the Court of the Crimson King by King Crimson. Yeah. Sinner from the Prairie, Pink Floyd's The Dark Side of the Moon. Edgar Pacifico, early Genesis or Rush's Hemispheres. Cassandra, Supertramp for sure. It's prog, but it's still not too crazy. Yeah, I see it. Bill Hawkins, Trick of the Tail, because you can go backwards and forwards from there. That is a great point. Is because if you like that, okay. If you want to go into the more, I think more proggier stuff, you head back to the beginning. You want to go into maybe more of the commercial phase. Great place to start. I might even say probably the best place to start might be Wind and Wuthering. If that's the case, because then you have that right at the end. That's the end of the it's kind of the end of the Hackett era, and then you can go back into Gabriel, then forward is Collins. The end, then there was 3 type thing. Jeff Shalika, long time subscriber, of course chooses Yes, and he chose Fragile. I think that's a great place start. And to end us out, Houston Salters II, Close to the Edge. There's a lot of great picks in there. If I had to choose like a perfect place to start, I probably would choose The Dark Side of the Moon. Like it said there, very easily digestible. There's a lot of different stuff. You have jazz, you have electronic, you have classic rock, you have that prog throughout. Like it's one of those really great things. I'm one of the few people that probably suggests if you actually can on Spotify and you want to do something just completely out of left field, just take money from where it is and put it either before Any Color You Like or after, and then bleed into Brain Damage and Eclipse, and I think it's an even better album. On that, I like sometimes taking some of these classic albums, just putting one song out and seeing how much better it is. I've always enjoyed that. Like, whenever I'm able to do that, I'm like, that's actually a really great spot for it. Other albums I'd say is probably from what I've heard. Like, I'm pretty new to prog, so there's a lot of stuff I haven't heard. One thing I'd probably throw in there that I haven't seen is I think one that could be really interesting to listen to, at least album-wise, would be Thick as a Brick. I think that'd be a good one. Also, Supertramp's Crime of the Century would be one. And yeah, I'm trying to think of other ones where it's actually one where I'd say would be a great starting point for prog, especially Yes, might actually be going for the one. Might be a great starting point. Because then you can go back to all the crazy stuff they did before, and then it's getting into the 90125 and their more modern stuff. I think it's a perfect starting point, bridge point there, going in different eras, and every song on that album just sounds great. Uh, what would be another really, really good one? I think a lot of them have been covered, at least great starting points. One I might suggest, I know this might come out of kind of left field. I almost think Caress of Steel by Rush might be a great starting point. Where, from what I've heard, you still got that little bit of hard rock left in them at the beginning, and then by the end, it's like full blown prog. And I think The Necromancer is one of the greatest songs Rush ever came up with. Ah, any. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I think that's pretty much been covered. Once again, thank you guys for your comments. It's great. I love doing these. It's one of those videos where I just read off your guys' comments and think some of them are really spot on. Some of the more crazy stuff, who else would I choose? One I might suggest that I didn't see on this list, Joe's Garage by Frank Zappa might be one that I would heavily suggest. I think that stretch from the beginning of the Central Scrutinizer to a Token of My Extreme is just perfect in that. And then you get, by the end, you get the Great Packard Goose, Watermelon, and Easter Hay. Great stuff by Frank. Just really good stuff. But anyway, that's my thoughts and opinions. Like I said, I love hearing your guys' comments. Once again, I have to say thank you guys for listening, putting up with this. If you heard a little bit of dog in the background, that is my pooch. Just playing with mom right now. But anyway, this is me here signing out. Peace.